You're putting a lot of pressure on yourself to save more money or even start investing more consistently, and you don't understand how someone making as much money as you do can still feel like you're not making any progress month over month. You keep telling yourself, I need to be more disciplined. I need to be trying harder every month. So you track for a few weeks, your spending, your income, maybe you cut back here or there, your lifestyle changes, and then other things happen in your life. There's unexpected expenses, you fall off and you get off track and you're wondering, where is all my money going? So in this video, I'm going to show you a much simpler way to fix that and reach your next $100,000 in savings or investing using the same process that helped me go from $43,000 worth of debt to a net worth of multiple hundreds of thousands. But before we can talk about the 100,000, there's a clear 3-step process that we need to go through first. Step 1, the first thing we need to do is get real clarity. Not what you think you've been doing with your money, but what you've actually done. So what I like to recommend for people to do is do a 3-month look back, where you look back 3 months of where you spent your money, not to judge it, not to feel bad about it, just to see the truth, the hardcore facts, right? Because most people say that, oh, I don't have money to save. Oh, if only I made more money, it would solve all my problems. But when you actually look, there's definitely patterns. Subscriptions you forgot, the impulse spending, the lifestyle creep. And I really hate talking about that sort of stuff because people on the internet say like, oh, stop buying the $3 Starbucks thing. I personally don't care. But this isn't about cutting everything out. This is about understanding where your money is actually going right now, because you can't fix what you can't see. Step 2 in this process, once we have that clarity, now we need a little more direction, because if you don't tell yourself where your money should be going, it will disappear, right? So I want you to create a North Star goals list. And this is simple. What are you actually trying to build? So if you clicked on this video, it's probably because, hey, I'm trying to build my next $100,000, right? And what does winning with your money look like for you? So maybe it's the paying off debt, emergency fund, investing consistently, buying back your time to get, your life back a little bit. So you pick 1 to 2 big priorities. Maybe you can have a list of like 10 things though of other life obligations, non-negotiables, because if everything matters, nothing does, right? So if you have a list and it has 30 things on it, it's kind of hard to find places where you can sort of, nudge your way in and make an impact. And this becomes your filter. These North Star goals become your filter, and every dollar you spend or save should be aligned with this. And then, great transition here. It's almost like I wrote the script for this video, right? The notes for this video. Step 3 is where everything changes. This is where the magic happens. This is where people in my personal finance community are finding $200 to $1,000 extra a month just by doing this process. You take what we learned in the 3-month look back, you compare it to the North Star goals, and then you ask yourself one simple question. Is my money aligned with what I actually want? The things that I said were most important to me, is that where my money is going right now? And for most people, the answer right away is no. But that's where the opportunity is, right? And that's okay. This isn't a process where we need to be shame. That's not that process, because we don't need more money to make this work right away. Now, in the long term, of course, making more money is helpful. But if we don't have the right systems in place, more money just equals more problems, right? You need to realign the money that we have without changing your income, not by cutting everything, but just simply redirecting where it's going and having a plan for it before we get it. From things that don't matter. By the way, the majority of things that don't matter for people are things like food delivery, restaurants, sort of these conveniency sort of things that people are like, wow, I can't believe I'm spending this much money on it, to something that matters, like saving or investing to get to $100,000. And once you've done all that, now we get to build the system that actually compounds. But before we get into talking about, hey, how do we get to that $100,000? Right now I'm doing a money challenge to help people find extra money in their finances over a 6-week time period. It's a big, I call it like sort of like a saving sprint, and people have been eating it up. It's very exciting. So I'm opening up some new spots for that. If you guys are interested, I have more information down below this video. So the next step in this process here, you need to know your number. We need a target, not save more money, because that's way too vague. We need an outcome of like, hey, did this happen or did this not happen? So if the goal, let's tie it back to this video here, is to save your next $100,000 or invest, get to $100,000 in your net worth, right? Let's break it down monthly, weekly, or even daily. What do we need to do? Because clear numbers will create clear actions. So if the goal is $100,000 and you went through that 3-month look back, North Star goal realignment process, and you ended up finding $800 a month, right? Okay, now we're going to reapply that $800 towards this $100,000 goal. So how long would it take us to get there? And then, if we need to, shorten the time frame, do we need to be putting more towards it? That's where maybe making a little more money could be helpful in the long term, right? So vague goals create no results. The next step here, and this is probably the most important, this is the thing that once people do this, everything changes for them. It's to automate everything. Everything. This is where the system happens. When people don't do this, this is why people are failing, because then they have to remember, I have all these financial goals, I have all these life goals, I have all these things that I need to take care of. Well, if we just automate them out of sight, out of mind, this is when we go from failure to success and compounding our skills and our money, right? Which is really what we're doing for this. So when we automate, the discipline doesn't need to be there, the motivation doesn't need to be there, but the system has been created. So once you know your number, let's automate it. So this could be like auto transfer to savings, auto investing, paying yourself first, right? All those fancy buzzwords, because it's true, it works. And that's what helped me personally go from $43,000 of debt to a net worth of multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars. I just looked at where I was spending my money and I moved it somewhere else, because where I was spending it was not aligned to the things that matter to me the most. Uber Eats is not a North Star goal for me. It's just a very convenient thing, right? So once I shifted that, I was able to find hundreds and just a lot of extra money. We pumped it into debt. And then once the debt was gone, we pushed all that money into financial goals. We automated it, right? The next step here, and this is probably the part that no one wants to hear, but the next step here is time. I know it's uncomfortable. Waiting is uncomfortable. We're very impatient, and it only works if we stick with it, right? So not 2 weeks or a month. I like to call it the seesaw cycle, where we're motivated. Yeah, let's go for a couple months, and then we fall off. And then over time, it's just this seesaw battle. And then if you zoom out far enough, it's actually just like a straight line. We've made no progress. And I'm speaking from experience, because this is what happened to me back in the day. You can't do everything right. And that's normal. Most people quit, honestly. Most people quit. And that's why the average American doesn't even have $1,000 in their bank account to be able to pay for an emergency that comes up or something like that. That's average in the country. If you're watching this, you don't want to be average. That's why you're watching this video. But the people who win, they stay consistent long enough for it to compound. So if you're uncomfortable with the time factor, then maybe the carrot that you're dangling out in front of you isn't big enough, yet. And that's okay. We're still trying to figure this out. So if you're interested in that money challenge, I'm going to put the video right up here for you guys to take a look. I'm opening up some new spots. People have been crushing it in there. It's insane what people do when there's a challenge element. So if that's something that you feel like you need or want right now in your finances, in your life, check out the video, and I'll see you in the next one.